Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, where we're going to be talking today about the foreign reactions to the war in Ukraine, especially surrounding the United Nations. And so let's begin here. We're going to be talking about how countries voted on the UN resolution condemning Russia. And as you can see, purple means they voted yes to condemn Russia, orange means they voted not to condemn Russia, and gray means abstain. And this is a resolution in the United Nations General Assembly. This means that every country gets one vote, no one can veto anything, but nothing is binding or has to be followed by the member states. So, of course, while the resolution obviously passed with a large majority of support, this had no effect on anyone's policies. It just reaffirmed the basis of international law and said that the world as a whole condemns Russia. Which brings us to the next thing, which is the thing that can do something that makes it a country obligated to implement a policy, which is the United Nations Security Council. The Security Council is composed of 5 permanent members: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. It also has some non-permanent members. There is 3 from Africa, 2 from Asia, 2 from Latin America, 2 from Western Europe, and 1 from Eastern Europe. But what makes the 5 permanent members so special is that they have veto rights. This means that they can veto any bill that they deem not in their interest or against one of their allies. In this case, obviously, the main concern is Russia. Russia is able to veto legislation, I guess you could call it legislation, that would negatively impact Russia, in this case, condemning or even blocking their war in Ukraine. And that is exactly what happened, which led to this, where Zelensky being the Ukrainian president, called for Russian expulsion from the UN Security Council, which would remove their veto power and make the only remaining Russian ally, China, the sole bearer of responsibility for vetoing bills against Russia. Which brings us to the next image, which is this. In this image, which is a satellite image, you can see the mass grave, right here, of Ukrainian civilians in the town of Busha. And where is Busha? Well, Busha is right here. And what is Busha? Well, Busha is a small city. And it is part of a bunch of territory in northern Ukraine that was recently conquered by Russia, or reconquered by Ukraine after being conquered by Russia, including the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and also the securing of major cities such as Chernihiv and Sumy. These cities, as we talked about last time, were about to fall and were very close to doing so. However, the Russians withdrew, seemingly to attack to the southeast, in Donetsk and Luhansk, which they have now designated as their goal. Additionally, many experts believe that they are aiming to take over the southern areas as well, such as the city and the surrounding areas of Kherson, as well as Zaporizhzhia and Kharkiv, the second largest Ukrainian city. But we're not here to talk about the war right now, we're just talking about the reactions. And as you can see, when you commit war crimes, something's going to happen, which is this. This is another vote in the General Assembly. And if you look closely, you can see that, once again, a large majority of countries voted yes. But if you look closer, you'll see it wasn't as large as it may seem, because while 93 voted yes and only 24 voted no, when you add the abstains to the no's, you end up with an amazing 82 no's or abstentions, which is only 10, yeah, I know, you were doing math too, 10 more yeses than no's or abstentions. And why does this matter? Well, it means that countries such as India, who had previously voted with the abstentions, are still doing so. However, countries who previously abstained as well, such as Algeria or China, are now voting no. This shows a lot more about what countries consider, which is this: condemning Russia. Algeria and China didn't really care, and other countries like Saudi Arabia were all for condemning Russia. But when it came to removing what could be one of their only possible allies, there was much more backlash. Countries such as Bolivia or China, Iran, Algeria all voted no when they had previously abstained. And countries such as Saudi Arabia or Oman or Yemen now went from saying yes to condemning Russia to abstaining on the resolution to suspend them from the Human Rights Council. Additionally, this Human Rights Council, where Russia was indeed suspended due to a majority voted yes, when Russia was suspended, Russia actually pulled a very curious diplomatic move, where after already being suspended, they decided to resign from the same council that they were legally no longer a part of, which led to the UN, one of the UN ministers, stating that Russia was trying to resign after being fired because they had been fired from the Human Rights Council due to human rights violations, and then they tried to resign. Obviously, this did not happen because you cannot resign once you are fired. Which brings us to what is arguably the last thing that we need to talk about right now, which is, you guessed it, the actual war in Ukraine and what could happen next. So many analysts have concluded that as Ukraine reconquers more territory, especially in the north, and officially takes control over it, they'll find more locations where things such as the Bucha massacre, as it is now being known, are more prevalent. One key area where this may be happening is in the southern Ukraine, where, as you can see by this arrow, there's a large Ukrainian offensive trying to take back the city of Kherson. Kherson is most likely going to hold out, and the Russians are probably going to maintain it due to superior numbers. However, for the first time, the Kremlin actually admitted to suffering large casualties, particularly in northern Ukraine and eastern Ukraine. Which brings us to the last point, which is the city of Mariupol. Mariupol, as seen here, is one of the main cities of Ukrainian defense in the south. While other cities such as Melitopol or Kherson or Donetsk and Luhansk fell in a few days in 2014 or the renewed invasion in 2022, Mariupol is held out. There's many reasons for this, but what needs to be known in this case is the fact that Mariupol is not only a very defensible city, but additionally it has a naval base. And this naval base has allowed the Ukrainians some measure of stability, as they were able to retreat to the coast, something that isn't possible in a city such as Melitopol. And bombings of maternity hospitals, among other things, in Mariupol have caused even more international community consternation, causing one of the leaders of the EU, von der Leyen, to go to Bucha and Hostomel, where she toured sites that I won't show, but were absolutely horrific. So yeah, comment down below what you think will happen next in the war in Ukraine and the wider foreign reaction. Do you think that Russia should be removed from the Security Council? Let me know. Thanks for watching.